is something about the tragedy of Karbala that we often forget. Of course, the men went through severe hardship, but how much hardship was placed upon the hearts of their young children. Imam Hussein, the first thing he did was go toward Hamidah, and he's confused. How do I tell this girl that her father has been killed? So he takes her hand and places it on her head, telling her she is an orphan. And it's as if in this moment, I want you to picture another young girl is watching this scene by the name of Ruqayah. And she turns to her auntie Zainab and she says, "Auntie, what is the meaning of the word orphan? What does this word mean? Does it mean that Muslim has gone for a while? Will he come back? Will Hameeda be okay?" And I wonder if in the Kharaba of Sham, Ruqayah understood the meaning of the word orphan when she saw in her dream her headless father, Abu Abdullah alayhi salam, saying, "Come to me, my daughter." And she wakes up and she cries a scream. She cries so loud that Yazid says, "What does this young girl want?" And they tell him she woke up crying for her father. So he says, "Then bring her father. Take his head and place it in a plate and take that plate toward Ruqayah." And when they bring the plate toward Ruqayah, it's covered. Ruqayah turns towards Zainab and says, "Auntie, I'm not hungry. Why are they bringing me food?" And they raise the lid on this plate and she sees the severed head of her father, Abu Abdullah. And she cries so much that her soul leaves her body and departs toward the heavens. I want you now to imagine a scene where the soul of Ruqayah and the soul of Hameeda meet together in heaven. Lower your heads if you need to. Close your eyes. Don't focus on this stage. Let's go together toward this scene, these two young girls of Hussein, as Ruqayah sits with Hameeda. And Ruqayah's soul, it starts to ask her, "Oh Hameeda, after I died, how many over us have cried? For there are two flowers of Ali, and each one in Ali's love blossomed. Both were too young to understand that their fathers were taken from them. One father found death in Kufa, betrayed though he tried to help them. And one father was loved upon earth, but he had his head taken from him. Two men of God, both betrayed by men, both died in their thirst with no one beside them. And their daughters wonder why. How many over us have cried?" Hameeda first asked Ruqayah, "Ruqayah, what's the last thing you remember?" "Because the last time I saw your body, your sweet skin had lost its color. The last time I saw your body, your sweet skin had lost its color. I remember sleeping and then I heard the scream, O Ruqayah. I heard you cry out to Yazid, 'Oh Yazid, what have you done to my father?' I heard you weep. And then I heard silence. And I have not seen you ever since. On the dust I saw you lie. How many over us have cried?" Ruqayah then says to Hameeda, "Let me first ask you a question. How did you feel when your ears heard Hussein cry, 'Oh Allah, they've killed my cousin,' and he saw you standing there confused as you said to my father, 'What has happened?' He took his hand and he wiped your head to tell you that now you are an orphan. It's been too long since we last spoke. Let me ask you how your heart broke, because still broken is mine. How many over us have cried?" Hameeda says, "O Ruqayah, I remember when I heard that my father was killed. I asked, how can my father, this great man, this loving man, how can he be hated? Why would someone want his blood spilled? Whenever anyone had a need, by both his hands it would be fulfilled. O Ruqayah, both of our fathers, they were too beautiful for this world. They were both loved in flesh and bone. Allah raised them and He gave them both domes. Death itself they have defied. How many over us have cried? And then Ruqayah says, "O Hamida, I remember that I saw my father in a dream. At first, I thought he had returned, but things were not as they seemed. At first, I thought he had returned, but things were not as they seemed. Why? Because his head was attached to his body. Because his head was attached to his body, and no pure blood from his neck streamed. I woke up and I cried his name. I woke up and I cried his name. And for my father Hussein I screamed, oh Father, Ya Hussein, I can't carry on. Take me with you toward your tomb." And the tears have still not dried. How many over us have cried? As Ruqayah sits with Hameeda, and Ruqayah's soul starts to ask her, "Oh Hameeda, after I died, how many over us have cried? Oh Hameeda, after I died, how many over us have cried?" Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. Please stand for dua al-faraj.